Today we're going to talk about ways to handle a demented resident who may be agitated or disruptive. Redirection is an important management technique in which staff distracts an agitated, distressed resident away from the situation that is causing this distress and into a situation where the resident may be more calmed and reassured. In order to use redirection, the staff must first of all remain cool under pressure, and secondly, they must understand the basics of redirection. Let's talk about ways to use redirection in your facility with residents who have dementia and may be agitated.
Residents with dementia can become confused and upset. Just like you, residents get hungry and get thirsty and need to use the toilet from time to time. Since demented residents' brains are damaged, they may not know what to do when they need something. This can be very frustrating and may cause residents to become agitated. Residents who are bored or tired or in pain may also become agitated. When demented residents get upset, they may start acting out. Disruptive behaviors are common among older residents with dementia. Disruptive behaviors include wandering, hoarding, rummaging, arguing, cursing, and screaming. You can help to prevent disruptive behaviors by using redirection. When you redirect residents, you distract them from whatever is upsetting them and focus their attention on something they enjoy or that relaxes them. By keeping residents happy and calm, you can prevent potentially dangerous behavior and maintain the safety of all residents and staff members.
The parts of the brain that are involved with redirection include the frontal lobes and the temporal lobes. Let's look where they're located in the human brain. Here we see a model of the skull, and the temporal lobe is located here on the side of the brain, somewhat above the ear. The frontal lobes are located here, right on top of the eyes. Let's see what they look like in our model here. Here we see the temporal lobes, which are hanging off the side of the brain. That's involved with language and memory, as opposed to the frontal lobes, which are located up here, which are involved with things like temper and impulse control. Now, let's see what happens to these brain regions in persons with dementia. Here we see a normal brain, here we see an Alzheimer brain. First, let's look at the temporal lobe. Here we see the temporal lobe, we're located right here. This is where language, understanding spoken word for instance, as well as memory is stored. Notice the change that you see in the person with Alzheimer's disease. This person would have trouble with communication as well as remembering instructions. Now let's see what these would look like if we cut them right down the middle. Here we see three levels of brain. This is a normal, this is the Alzheimer. This is the part of your brain that's involved with memory. Notice how reduced it is in a resident with Alzheimer's disease. This patient would have a hard time remembering instructions. Next, as we move down here, here's a normal brain, Alzheimer brain. This is the temporal lobe right here that's involved with communication. Notice how shrunken it is in the resident with Alzheimer's disease. This person would have trouble understanding spoken word. Third, we see a section from the frontal lobe down here from a normal individual and then from a resident with Alzheimer's disease. Notice how shrunken and reduced in volume this brain region is. This person would have trouble controlling their temper. This person would have difficulty controlling their impulses. And that's why redirection is so important. These patients lack the ability to be reasoned with, and they tend to be somewhat grumpy and irritable as a result of the damage to the frontal lobes. So consequently, we have to use redirection to help them to move on to something that does not provoke them.
Always stay calm. You have to always stay calm, and you try to assure them that you're not there to harm them, that you're only there to help them. And most of the time, if you use a calm voice with them, they usually will calm down and, you know, try to do what you ask them to do. The main thing is to stay calm.
If residents in your facility get upset or start acting disruptively, they need your help. You can use redirection to distract residents from dangerous behaviors and to encourage them to participate in safe activities that they enjoy. The first step in redirection is to make sure that everyone is safe. Check to see that the distressed resident is safe and is not upsetting other residents. If more than one resident is arguing or fighting, ask other staff members to help you separate the residents from one another. Don't forget to make sure that all staff members are safe as well. The second step in redirection is to communicate with the agitated resident. Establish face and eye contact. Stay cool, smile, and calmly reassure the resident. Next, acknowledge the resident's concern or anxiety with simple, encouraging statements. Residents may be troubled by false beliefs. An older woman with Alzheimer's disease may insist that she needs to go home to care for her baby, even though all of her children are adults. You should never argue or say no to residents with dementia. Trying to explain to residents that they are wrong will only make them more upset. It's very important to remain calm, compassionate, and understanding. The fourth step in redirection is to change the subject to something pleasant. Once you have affirmed the resident's concern and shown a sympathetic attitude, start talking to the resident about something else. Talk to residents about things they enjoy, their beautiful grandchildren, their favorite old movies, their favorite sports teams, or anything else that you know will make them happy. Don't forget to smile. Your body language can say a lot to anxious residents. Lastly, address the resident's needs. Hunger, thirst, boredom, pain, fatigue, and need to use the toilet can all upset residents and cause troublesome behaviors. Make sure the resident is not injured. Offer the resident a snack or something to drink. See if the resident needs to use the toilet or needs an adult diaper changed. Engage the resident in a pleasant activity, like listening to music, watching a movie, or playing a game. Or show the resident to a comfortable place to sit and rest. Do everything you can to make sure the residents are happy and comfortable.
This morning we were doing walking and trying to get a resident to walk, and she started screaming, "I'm going to do it, I'm getting there," and she was going off the other way, and we was trying to get her back on track. And I just said, "Miss, call the resident name. I'm trying to help you, not trying to hurt you, and could you please come this way?" And she got back on track and started back walking.
Redirection is an excellent way to deal with disruptive behavior when it happens. But the best redirection prevents troublesome behavior from ever happening at all. Pay attention to residents at all times, especially residents who are prone to disruptive behavior. Arrange activities for them to make sure they don't get bored. See that residents are comfortable and warm. Offer them the opportunity to use the toilet regularly. Provide residents with snacks and drinks as needed. When you attend to residents' needs, they're much less likely to get upset and act disruptively. Calm, happy residents are well-behaved residents. Clara is clueless. Mr. Jones has Alzheimer's disease. His disease causes memory problems that make him ask the same question over and over.
Is my wife coming to see me today?
No, Mr. Jones.
Is my wife coming to see me today?
No, Mr. Jones.
Is my wife coming to see me today?
No, Mr. Jones.
Is my wife coming to see me today?
Listen, Mr. Jones, I've told you 3 times already your wife is not coming to see you today.
Do you know we've been married over 50 years and I still remember that wedding. Oh, she was so beautiful.
I don't understand how you can remember something that happened 50 years ago and not remember what I told you 5 minutes ago. I think you're just being mean. You need to go back to your room and leave me alone now.
No. My wife's coming to visit me today.
What did Clara do wrong? She ignored Mr. Jones. She didn't stay cool. She was mean to Mr. Jones.
Oh, really? I love
Sandy is smart.
They're very, very good. Is my wife coming to see me today?
I'm not sure that she's coming today, but I know she'll be here tomorrow. But while we're waiting, I've got an idea. Why don't we go work on a puzzle?
That might be okay.
Okay. So why don't you tell me about your wedding again? I bet your wife looked beautiful.
Oh, she sure did. Do you know we've been married over 50 years?
Really? Wow.
What did Sandy do right? She paid attention to Mr. Jones. She smiled. She acknowledged Mr. Jones' concerns. She gave a reassuring touch. She gave Mr. Jones something to do so he wouldn't be bored. She changed the subject to something pleasant. Miss Smith suffers from dementia. Sometimes she gets confused and thinks that other people's things belong to her. Clara is clueless.
Miss Smith, what are you doing in here? This isn't your room. Are you trying to steal that sweater?
No, this is my sweater.
You give that to me.
What did Clara do wrong? She didn't stay cool. She yelled at Miss Smith. She fought with Miss Smith. Sandy is smart.
Hi, Miss Smith. How are you today?
Oh, hello. Do you like my sweater? Isn't it beautiful?
This is a beautiful sweater. But you know, there's another sweater in your room that's even prettier.
But, no, this is my room.
Oh, I know. But there's another room down the hall that I think you'll like even better. Your family came and put lots of your things in there. Do you want to come look at the other room?
Well, all right.
Okay, let's go see what we find.
What did Sandy do right? She smiled. She acknowledged Miss Smith's concerns. She gave a reassuring touch. Clara is clueless. Miss Smith and Mr. Jones both suffer from dementia. Sometimes they get confused and upset and argue with one another.
Stop it, this is mine.
No, give it to me, it's mine.
No, it's mine.
No, it's mine.
Stop it.
Give it to me, it's mine.
No, it's mine.
No, it's mine.
No,
Stop it.
It's mine. No, it's mine.
Stop it, both of you, stop it. No.
What did Clara do wrong? She ignored the residents. She didn't stay cool. She fought with Mr. Jones. Sandy is smart.
Hi, Mr. Jones. Come sit next to me over here.
Oh, hello.
Let's watch some TV. I think one of your favorite John Wayne movies is on. You know John Wayne, don't you?
Yeah, I like all his movies. You know, John Wayne's one of my favorite actors.
Ah. Mr. Jones, do you want some juice or a cookie?
Oh, that sounds good. I am a little bit hungry.
Okay. Here you go.
Thank you.
What did Sandy do right? She paid attention to the residents. She prevented an unpleasant confrontation. She smiled. She changed the subject to something pleasant. She gave Mr. Jones something to do. She offered Mr. Jones something to eat and drink. Clara is clueless. Mr. Jones has Alzheimer's disease, and sometimes he tries to wander outside.
Oh, that sounds wonderful.
I'm sorry. Get out of my way. I need to go home.
I have to go. One of the residents is being mean again.
Get out of my way. I need to go home.
Yeah. I'll call you back. Bye.
I'm sorry.
Get out of my way. I need to go home.
Why are you being mean again?
Well, I need to go home. My wife and kids are waiting for me.
You don't need to go home, and your wife and your kids don't need you.
No, I need to go home.
What did Clara do wrong? She ignored Mr. Jones. She didn't stay cool. She argued with Mr. Jones. She fought with Mr. Jones. Sandy is smart.
Hi, Mr. Jones. How are you doing today?
Okay, but I need to go home to see my wife and kids. You know, they're waiting for me.
I know you love your family a lot. I'm sure they're all right. Would you like to get something to drink?
I am a bit thirsty.
Okay. Do you need to use the bathroom?
I need to go really quite badly.
All right, Mr. Jones, let me show you to the bathroom, and then we'll go sit down and have something to drink. You used to be a farmer, didn't you?
But I was.
What did you used to grow?
Oh, corn and oats.
What did Sandy do right? She paid attention to Mr. Jones. She smiled. She acknowledged Mr. Jones' concerns. She offered Mr. Jones something to drink. She asked Mr. Jones if he needed to use the bathroom. She changed the subject to something pleasant.
Ms. Wilson has Alzheimer's disease. Sometimes she wanders into other people's rooms and upsets other residents. When you ask her to leave, she becomes angry and aggressive. What can you do to help Ms. Wilson?
Ask your coworkers to help you drag her out. Scold her and tell her she must leave.
Invite her into the hallway to get a cookie.
Tell the doctor he needs extra medication.
Mr. Johnson suffers from dementia. You find him standing at the front door to your facility. He is trying to leave, and he insists that he must go meet his wife, who is waiting for him at home. His wife died 3 years ago. Mr. Johnson has a history of hostile behavior. What can you do to help Mr. Johnson?
Remind him that his wife is dead.
Invite him to get a drink. Tell him they will look for her later.
Scold him.
Tell Mr. Johnson's daughter that he is too much trouble.
Ms. Brooks and Mr. Ross are demented residents in your facility. Sometimes, while Ms. Brooks is watching television, Mr. Ross will enter and change the channel. This upsets Ms. Brooks, who reacts by striking Mr. Ross. You find Ms. Brooks watching TV and notice that Mr. Ross is headed in her direction. What can you do to keep the peace?
Wait until Mr. Ross gets hit.
Tell Miss Brooks to stop being so mean.
Ask their families to remove them from the facility.
Invite Mr. Ross to join you in another part of the room.
If Mr. Ross does change the channel and Ms. Brooks starts hitting him, what can you do to help them?
Let them fight it out.
Separate them, reassure them, and distract them with some other activity.
Physically remove Ms. Brooks from the room.
Call the police. Miss Brooks should go to jail.
Mr. Platt has Alzheimer's disease. He often wanders towards an exit and tries to leave the facility. He tells you that he wants to go home. What can you do to help Mr. Platt?
Tell him, we'll go home later. Let's eat some popcorn.
Show him pictures of the parking lot that replaced his home.
Argue with him until he understands.
Sharply tell him to return to his room at once.